Hello, everyone. My name is Call, and I am a somatic therapist as well as an astrological counselor. And I also help individuals along their sexual journeys, essentially, help them kind of work through challenges. So, what this video is about is basically, well, it's actually more a response video to a number of questions that I've received over the last couple years, but got a couple of them recently this month. And so I was like, all right, that's interesting. I'm getting this particular question, which was, I don't feel enough. I'm not having enough sensation and experience of myself. And so the first thing I always, kind of look at in that particular scenario is, all right, if you're experiencing yourself is dull, why might that be? And so I'm gonna kind of start this off by expressing, I guess, what happened in my own personal experience. So I'm 44 now, so right around the age of 28. And keep in mind, I know like the typical Western response to, you're feeling disconnected from your body, or you're having health problems, is like, oh, you got to change your diet and your exercise patterns. Nah. Yeah, I mean, those things are important, don't get me wrong. But in this particular case, and in my case, it wasn't. So I was studying to be a dietitian. I was studying to be a naturopath, both at the same time. And I was also, working towards my master's in exercise physiology shortly after. So during this like 4-year period of time between 28 and 32, which is also quote unquote your Saturn's return, which is a very humbling period in many people's lives, is that age where you're sort of forced to be an adult. I won't go into too much in what Saturn's return is, but it's kind of what it is. It humbles you. So what happened to me during this period of time was a sense of numbness, disconnection from the body. My body was tight and uncomfortable. Otherwise, it felt inhospitable to exist in my own skin. My solution was to, because I was doing diet right, I was exercising, I was doing everything you're supposed to do, at least as science says, right? So I was like, there's something else going on here. And so what I realized is that, one, how I was living my life was a problem. I generally had, like I said, I had an extremely clean lifestyle, but there was a problem. And I was hyper stressed out all the time. Too much work, too much school. That was a major issue. The other issue was my sexual expression. How much sex I was having, masturbation in particular, and how often I was ejaculating. So this is where my journey personally began in terms of wanting to understand sexual energy. So I started to do research, I started to want to understand it, and I found out something that I saw repeatedly mentioned, which is when a man ejaculates, they say you disconnect from your root. The root, in this particular case, to me, basically means you're disconnecting from your body. You're losing interest in your body when you ejaculate, right? Pre-cum, post-cum, men are different. We're vastly different. And I know most of you guys watching this know exactly what I'm talking about. Think about whatever it was you were into before you had an orgasm, and then were you into that after? Sometimes there's some buyer's remorse there after you have an ejaculation, isn't there? Anyway, another thing that I did during this path was so I learned to abstain from ejaculation. I was like, all right, I need to practice this. So I started abstaining, and I was like, oh, I feel a little more mental clarity. I feel a little more creative. I feel a little more connected to my body. So that was step one. Step two, I had to change how I was masturbating, because I said, okay, I'm still going to allow myself self-pleasure, because I don't want to deprive myself of that pathway. And again, self-pleasure is a pathway into the body. It's one of the ways in which the mind merges with the body. So this pleasurable pathway into the body, it was, kind of beaten to death for me in a lot of ways, because I was like connecting and then ejaculating and then releasing. And then, so over time, I guess my endocrine system was whacked out. And I think a lot of men who are listening to this can relate. So I developed a practice. And I later found out this practice wasn't particularly unique because I started to look into what other men were doing who were selling different programs online. And I kept seeing the same practice basically over and over again. So I'm going to tell you that practice is for free. Now, the practice is this. I was like, all right, I'm not going to deny myself self-pleasure. So how am I going to go about this differently? So what I decided to do was this. I realized and recognized that pornography was an issue. Pornography was programming my desires. This is what happens. You give yourself a peak energetic experience, which is an orgasm, while looking at some particular sexy image or sex act. And what you do is you program it into your brain, into your energy body, into your field. That's what I want. It's all fantasy. And so for me, I had to get away from the porn and I had to connect what is authentic. What do I authentically want? What is my authentic sexual expression here? Because again, my whole program in life is about sovereignty. It's where can I find this sovereignty, my sexual sovereignty. So disconnect from the porn. And that was first step. Now, if you have to use a little bit of pornography or some sort of visual aid or a fantasy to get the ball rolling, that's fine. Just don't apply it to a peak experience because that is sex magic. You will program yourself. So now what you do is you get the ball rolling, then you build some heat. Now what I suggest is that you're lying down, you can be seated, whatever comfortable position you are, but I suggest you're in a nice warm room and you get naked. And again, you want to have access to your total body here, so you're naked. And so what you do is you masturbate, build this energy up, and think about a scale of 1 to 10. So on a scale of 1 to 10, you want to build to a 7 or an 8. And a 10 is ejaculation, you are done. All right, so you don't want to go to a 10. You don't even want to go to a 9 because you could slip if you get a 9. So think about a 7 or an 8. So you build up to a 7 or an 8, and then you back off. You just simply relax. So while you're after you kind of relax, what you do is you start to rub all over the body. So you relax the masturbation, rubbing all over the body, and you're making sounds. And I know a lot of people are shy about making sounds. Don't be shy about making sounds. Oh, I have roommates. My parents are home. So? I mean, really, so? So you rub all over your body. Just say you're doing yoga. Who cares? Toning is very yogic. And what I mean by toning is, so think about vowel sounds. So while you're rubbing, think A-E-I-O-U. Think about A-H, K, you could do ka, you can add a consonant, an S-A, so S-A, K-A, R-A. Again, add a consonant to a vowel sound, and that's pretty much the magical formula for creating what they call bij mantras or seed sounds. So while you're rubbing, ra, ma, ha, H-A, right? So hu, H-U. You can make all sorts of sounds, just rub all over the body, but you want to drag out those vowel sounds. A, because what you're doing, it's a long exhale. It's a long exhale, which relaxes the body. So after you've done this, think about 2 minutes. So 2 minutes minimum. You could do 3 minutes. You should be tingling all over because you're rubbing and creating friction and you're making sound and you're vibrating your body with the sound. And you're also slowing the number of breaths that you're taking in a minute. So you're reducing the number of breaths in a minute. You're slowing everything down. You're cooling. You're relaxing. And then what you could do, one final thing is you could do a quick oxygen saturation technique after you've done this for about 3 minutes, which is, there's several you can do. You could do breath of fire, bellows breath. Bellows breath is basically rapid breathing in and out of the nose. Just diaphragmatic rapid breathing. You could do it in and out of the mouth if you want to hypersaturate. So you'll pull more air in through the mouth than you will your nose. Breath of fire is done from the navel point, similar to bellows breath. Again, it's rapid breathing. Or another way you could do this is you could do what I guess I call the Wim Hof technique. This is Wim Hof is the Iceman. It's Wilhof. He's I think he's Dutch, and he did anyway. He has a very interesting technique that he teaches, which is inhale mouth, exhale, just let the air fall out. You could do that for 30 times. If you do it for 30 times, you can do it 20 times, but 30 times is what he recommends. You will be absolutely saturated with energy. So, progression here. Let me describe it. So, first thing, connect to a fantasy or a visual, or if you don't need that at all, just touch. Get the energy up. Sexual energy rises. You're horny now, right? So, horny, you masturbate, build to a 7 or an 8. You could do this multiple times, by the way. You can build to a 7 or an 8, then start rubbing all over the body, making sounds, and then you can build it back up to a 7 or 8, do it again. You can do this multiple times, but I suggest at least once. And so after you rub and make sounds all over the body for 2 to 3 minutes, then what you do is you go into some sort of breath saturation. So breath of fire, bellows breath for a couple minutes, so 1 or 2 minutes. Long, deep breathing in and out of the mouth, the Wim Hof technique, 20 to 30 breaths. And then you do the simmering. So the simmering period is feeling and sensing. And this is where the union occurs. Is when the mind, the ego, the personality surrenders, you connect to sensation and feeling, and simply be present. And this is Tantra. This is union. This is mind-body connection. The ego is surrendered. And this will cultivate pathways. This will change your experience of yourself, of your body. And it will bring a new richness into your life in terms of your experience of life in general. How you experience your body, because we shine from the inside out, is how you experience life. So, with all that said, so the simmering, before I log off here, what I should say about the simmering period is this. You want to lie there for about 5 minutes at least. So you want to simmer for 5 minutes. Cover yourself with a blanket, whatever you want. But the point is to be very, very present with your body, with the sensations, and just let go. Let go and allow. Allow your thoughts to rise, allow the sensations to rise, and take note of something really special that can potentially happen here. Because you've saturated with oxygen, there's something that might occur, which is you may find yourself not breathing at all. And when you're not breathing at all, it's that I can't remember who it is. There's some ultra wise guru type. I don't remember who it was, but they made a comment that the union which we all seek with creation, with your creator, with the universe, with infinity, with God, with our own body, the union occurs at the space in between the inhale and the exhale. Not the inhale and not the exhale. It has nothing to do with the breath. Because as long as the diaphragm is breathing and it's moving up and down, so too will the mind. You will find the stillness at the space in between the inhales and the exhales. So with all that said, appreciate you watching this video. Thank you much.